Hello, Maverick Currency traders. This is Rob Reinhold, and this is the Currency Recap. In this session, we're going to be talking about the news of the day. We got some big news on Bitcoin. We're going to take a look at the rest of the markets, and then we are always looking for trading opportunities.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional Forex and crypto traders. Maverick Currencies is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional Forex and currency trader for Maverick, click the apply button in the video description. Let's break down what happened today.
All right, let's take a look first at the news of the day. So we've had some big moves in the equity markets, and the Dow and the S&P in the U.S. have already hit record highs. Well, the NASDAQ made a record high today. So we're at an all-time high in the NASDAQ. And then we also saw Bitcoin top 73,000 for the first time since March. And it did it on record volume. Now, I've been building a Bitcoin position. I bought some more as we started to break out. And we're going to talk about buying things at all-time highs. I know it sounds like you don't want to do it, but think of all the times you saw something hit an all-time high in the stock market, in the gold market, in the crypto market. It was usually a good time to buy. Now look, I'm not saying it was a good time to buy and hold. What I'm saying is it's a good entry point for a trade. So we're going to take a look at Bitcoin, and that's really what we're going to be focusing on, as there's really no other cryptos that are really breaking out like Bitcoin. Out of the U.S., we got two economic reports. We got the JOLTS job openings number. It hit the lowest number since 2021. The Fed about a year and a half ago was really worried about this number as it was over 10 million. Now we've come down. This is a sign that the employment situation in the U.S. is actually starting to get a little bit worrying. The Fed might be willing to cut rates more aggressively if these numbers continue to weaken. But then on the other hand, we got consumer sentiment that surged to 108.7. This beat the expectations of 99. So things are looking well. At least consumers are feeling really good about things in America. How did that affect the Forex market? Well, not a whole lot. Take a look at these numbers, and let's just take a look at everything in this area. Totally untradeable. So if you were looking at, euro dollar, guess what? Didn't move today. If you're looking at something like Aussie CAD, it moved a tiny bit. But for the most part, pound was the only thing in play, and it only went up 0.5%. On a good day of trading, you typically get one or two currencies that have a more than 1% move. Forex is just not interesting at the moment. We come over here to equities. They were basically flat on the day. Gold up a little bit, oil down a little bit. Gold is a decent trade. We'll take a look at that too. But this is where the action was. It was in the crypto markets. And specifically, you can see it was across the board. But we've been talking about Bitcoin for the last 2 to 3 weeks, up 3.5% on the day. We're going to take a quick look at the S&P 500 chart. And I really want to focus on, we just made a new all-time high. We backed down. So this is just an orderly pullback. And we got these nice reversal candles. Long lower shadows right on that 20-day moving average. And I talked about how this was a not so great candle. And I said this probably means that we're basing here instead of a pullback and a run to new highs. So that's where we are, and that's what I said on the weekend in the currency room. And here we are, we're basically flat for the week. Up a little bit for the week, but not looking to challenge the upper end of this high base at 58.75. So I think we are likely stuck in this range until the election is done. Crazy to think the U.S. election is only a week away. I know I'm looking forward to it being over. We do have a ton of news coming out in the next 24 hours that I want to spend a lot of time covering. First off, we've got Aussie CPI tonight. If you are playing the Aussie or you're looking for something to play, in periods of low volatility, you pretty much have to go to where the volatility is. Now, of course, we don't know where volatility is going to be. We can make some educated guesses, but we can use things like major economic reports to get a good idea of where it's likely to be. So tonight, I think the Aussie is pretty much the only playable currency. We'll take a look at the Aussie here. If this number comes in a little bit lighter than expected, I think the Aussie has more downside, even more than it had today. Today went down about 0.25%. We get German CPI, so you can take a look at the euro overnight. But I think it's really not until the U.S. comes out with these two reports. Advanced GDP is going to be a very big one. Looking at 3%, this is for the third quarter. So this is the first number we've had for the third quarter. And then tomorrow night, watch out, BOJ, likely not going to be as major of a report as we've seen in the past 6 to 12 months. But still, there is a chance for volatility. If you're looking at Forex over the next 24 hours, I'm not really interested in Forex. But if I was going to trade it, I'd be really hunting around the Aussie and then maybe tomorrow morning around the dollar. But that is really about it. I would likely to be waiting until the BOJ comes out on Wednesday night. But look, I think the better place to be is looking in the crypto markets. I think that's where the best price action is right now. So let's go spend some time looking at that. And we'll also pop over into the gold market and check that out. I'm going to go straight to Bitcoin because all my analysis has been telling me that Bitcoin is by far the strongest, stronger than everything else. And I want to take a look at where we are here, just on a longer term chart. As you can see, we are in areas where we're going to start to see some pretty serious resistance. But remember, the more something challenges resistance, the more likely it is to break that. I always liken it to something going on a table. So if you have support down below, something like, okay, well, if you are bouncing a heavy ball upon that line, the more times it bounces on that table, the more likely it is to break through it. So on the upside, we've got lots of overhead resistance here. You could see where we ran into overhead resistance today. We broke through this resistance at 71.7. We came right up to the all-time high. We did not make an all-time high at the high, and we've pulled back. All right, now look, this is a good sign here in Bitcoin. And again, I'm going to challenge you. When something looks like it's going to break or hits or breaks out to an all-time high, short term is typically a pretty good trade. I'm looking at this the same way. We're just getting RSI, getting to an overbought level at 70, which is fine on a short-term trade. We're getting a pullback, and that's what we want to see. We want to see a pullback. We had a big run here from 67,000. It's a monster run, 7,000 points. Let's let this thing back down. I would love to see this thing back down to the 70,000 area. 70,000 would be a great pullback. I don't know if it's going to get there. I doubt it's going to get there. But this is going to be the first setup I'm looking for, is a pullback into this area. But for right now, it is super strong. I also want to check in on the Aussie going into this report tonight. If we take a look at the Aussie, it is weak. As you can see here, we are broken down. We are in areas where we could see a move, all the way down here. Looking at a 4-hour chart, seeing nothing but weakness here. So for me, Aussie is a short only on the news tonight. That is about it. I didn't want to take a ton of our time up by looking at where the relative strength and weakness is, but take a look at Forex. There's a whole lot that's just not moving. What actually is moving? Pound to the upside, dollar to the upside, and Aussie to the downside. That's really about it. To me, this market is much more interesting looking at the cryptos. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of those, and then I will take a look at one Aussie cross going into the report tonight. I mentioned a few levels on Bitcoin here, so let's go through all the possibilities. All right, the possibility it pulls back down to the 70,000, that to me is a great setup, but I want to wait for it to bounce. I want to wait for it to have a pullback, start to get some green candles, maybe it breaks a parabolic SAR. If that happens, that's going to be 2 days away probably. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the strength stays. So I think we're going to get more of a base. If you want to use this 71.7 area as kind of the lower end of the range, to where if you want to start accumulating down around that area, again, I wouldn't accumulate your whole position. You want to just leg into it a little bit, as to where if it does make that bigger pullback. You can get some more down in this area. Ultimately, below 69.6, I think you've got to bail on the trade. I think that is the level where you need to bail on the trade. But other than that, again, accumulating it in this area here and then ultimately a breakout to all-time highs at 74,000, I think that's what you want to do here. If you're not looking at Bitcoin, I think Litecoin is just as good, and in fact, on a technical basis, might look better. It just might have a little bit more upside, a little bit less resistance to get through. And you can see here, these candles are looking pretty strong here. We ran up, we had a shooting star candle, but then the next candle, there's no follow through, meaning that this was a reversal in this 4-hour period, but no one cared about it. And you can see they are still buying it up. So this one looks good as well. If you'd rather do Litecoin than Bitcoin, I support that as well. I just do like Bitcoin that when and if it does break out of 74,000, there's likely to be a really explosive bunch of volume to come into the name. So for me, in the cryptos, Bitcoin, Litecoin, that's the setup. If you do want to trade some currency, some Forex, then I think Pound Aussie is the trade. So we've got Aussie with news tonight. And you can see we've run up here, coming up. Yeah, we're really punching through some old highs here. We're looking to punch through them. Well, I can't draw a line straight to save my life here today, so. Right. Yeah, that's straighter. Okay. As you can see here, we punched up above some of that resistance. Hasn't really broken out and ran, but it looks really strong. So the same thing. We're getting a little rest here. Look and see what happens. It runs up, takes a little rest. Runs up, takes a little rest. I don't think this is going to pull back. So if you're waiting for a pullback, I don't think you're going to get there. This is where I really like to play the legging in game, where you grab a little bit, wait, grab a little bit, wait, and then when it does break out and run, maybe at the 198.50, then you take your entire position if it does break out and run. But you're spending this whole time accumulating, into this 198, 198.20 area. If you can accumulate in here, now of course, if it does break down, you've got to have your area where you bail on it. But if it breaks out, it's going to be a really nice ride on this one. Understand that if you own this before the news announcement, you are taking on a lot of risk. I like entering it after that news announcement tonight. To wrap this up, the markets are mostly flat, so there are few sporadic trades out there, but this isn't a great trading environment in Forex. This is a great trading environment in crypto, so I think that's where our focus should be until the market shows us that it's no longer there. Everyone be safe out there, always have your stops, and let's go make some pips. Goodbye, everybody.